big warm welcome back to the Health and Safety Digest, a special podcast by Astutis. And as ever, I am your guide, your host on this voyage through health, safety and environmental training, digital content writer at Astutis, Toby Howell. And in this series of episodes, we are going to be interviewing the delightful Saffire Paris, an integral member of the graphic design and learning development team here at Astutis. Specifically, we are going to be talking to Saffire regarding the innovations for the new NEBOSH Online General Certificate course that we offer here at Astutis. She and her team have been hard at work over the last few months innovating the course to make it more learner-centric. In this first episode, we introduce the innovations to the Online General Certificate course. We ask her what the goals are for the innovations, and we also interrogate her over reducing visual overload and the psychology behind colours and button hierarchy, something I knew nothing about, but now I feel so much more informed. So we're not going to waste any more of your time. Let's get into our chat with Saffire. So we are delighted to finally be joined by Saffire Paris, an integral member of the learning design team. You have been with Astutis for nearly 2 years now. Prior to that, you have over 5 years of experience as a highly decorated freelancer, and no one is better prepared or qualified to discuss the new innovations to the Astutis Online General Certificate course. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for such a wonderful intro.
Well, thank you for joining us on the pod, because we have been looking forward to getting someone from your team on for a very, very long time to dissect the decision makings that go into learning design, learner theory, all that kind of stuff. So firstly, if you could you take us through your job role and what you kind of do on a day-to-day basis?
Of course, yeah. So the term that I am in the team is a visual designer. I'm part of a team of learning designers, graphic designers, and animators. So I'll just take you through what that actually means. A learning designer thinks about the content, the theory, and how to teach what we're going to teach you in the courses. A graphic designer focuses more on how to communicate visually. That can be through illustrations, graphic design, or even the way the course looks. And you've also got a visual designer, which is myself. So those blend the two. So you've got a little of column A and a little of column B. So I can blend some of the learning design techniques that we learn and some of the graphic design techniques and just put them together so they're a bit more harmonious. And animators create our wonderful explainer videos, which we've got a handful of in the General Certificate. They're incredibly wonderful pieces of work. I'm incredibly jealous of their talents, if I must say. But yeah, so that's what we do, and that's what I do.
So you play a direct role, if I'm correct, in the construction of these courses.
Yes, I do. Yes. So it is teamwork at the end of the day. We all have a role to play. My role was more on the visual elements of the course, but I did have quite a lot of impact in designing it.
So you, if I am correct, have had a direct role in the innovations for the new General Certificate Online offering. Could you tell us a bit about what the mission was? What was the ambition behind these kind of innovations?
Yeah, of course. So we want only the very best for the people taking these courses, and we'd had quite a bit of feedback which we took on board, and we decided to work with another goal. So we were assessing the courses, taking the learner feedback into consideration. What we did was we utilized that feedback. We took new technology that was coming out, new ways to create our designs, new learning techniques that we've picked up along the ways, and we wanted to ensure the quality of our courses was the highest it could be. Health and safety is so important to us at Astutis. We take our job incredibly seriously. We want to make sure that we provide our learners with only the best learning materials and the best courses to learn those in. This can help enhance the learner experience, and it makes sure the information in the course is embedded, because the ultimate goal is just so that our learners can apply the knowledge in their workplace and naturally be able to recall this information.
Wow. Okay. That was pretty deep. Now, as you said in your previous answer, that you were kind of playing a role in the visual elements, the visual changes to this new online general certificate. So whether that be kind of clearing things, let's clear that up just so I'm completely aware. I've been able to have a sneak peek. I've been one of the lucky few who've been able to have a sneak peek at the course. And one crucial aspect that I've kind of noticed from that sneak peek is this idea of reducing visual overload, whether it be removing unnecessary text to make the course seem eases the learner in a way. Would you kind of agree with that kind of statement? Could you take us through that idea?
Yeah, of course. So what we wanted to do with the course is we wanted to reduce visual overload. It's something that we strive to avoid because not many people like a giant wall of text,
Yes.
just getting a document with just pages and pages of information.
Mm-hmm.
So what we've done is we've tried to reduce the amount of information on the page. We've done this by cutting out any excess information that you don't need. These kinds of bits of information are still available. You can go to course notes or you can go through additional information buttons that we have on the page. So some people do prefer to learn like that, and we don't want to take those people out of the picture. But what we've done is we've created a minimal user interface with plenty of space for content. Now, I just use the word user interface, which some of you may not be familiar with. But a user interface is essentially how the course looks. It's where the menu goes, the navigation, the left and right arrows.
Okay.
So what we've done is we've created plenty of space in the user interface so that the content is kind of the key thing on the page. One thing we've actually done is we've used something known as a mental model. So user experience designers use this term a lot. It essentially is how our brains map the information of websites and things. So if you think of a menu, you may look in the top right of a page, and that's actually where we've put our menu. So it just reduces the amount of information that the learner has to think about. And all of these tiny little things are taken into consideration when we design this, because then our users don't have to think too much about where's the next and back button, where's the menu button. They can just focus on the content. It's a really, really important thing to us. Just look at the content. That's all you need to think about.
I'm going to go off on a tangent now because that's just given me a wild thought. We were talking there about how there can be too much visually on one page for someone to be able to process everything. Now, tell me if I'm going off on a completely wild and kind of left of stage idea here, but what comes into my head when I think about that immediately is this idea of linking it almost to streaming services, where you're kind of given too much. There's too much on TV nowadays for people to watch in one sitting. So could we almost relate that in a way to having too much information at once on a training course and needing to kind of restrict that and give it to them in small increments? Would that be a good way of kind of
100%, yeah. People's minds can get overwhelmed. Not everybody, again, everyone is different, but some people can get quite overwhelmed with the amount of information on a page or the amount of choice there is, or all of these kind of little factors can come into play. So when I was talking about visual overload, I was thinking more about the actual content on the page, but it can also just be how much is in the course in general. And what we like to do is we like to separate these pieces of information out into pages, into text boxes, pop-up boxes, so that you can control when you see that information, when you're ready to progress to the next element or the next page, however it may be.
It's fascinating, the idea of trying to work out how much to give to a learner all at once. It's kind of a really, really interesting debate. My next question was going to be about the interactivity and engaging visuals of the course. I understand that it is quite essential to sustain that level of interactivity, the engagement, to enhance learner success. Now, you've discussed in the sneak peeks that I've been able to see, even down to the buttons, there's been, real hard, deep thought process about how to present and visually kind of put it on a level for learners. Could you expand upon even, just buttons and color and stuff like that and how that's been influenced?
I'd love to, yeah. So again, a lot of this question ties into the idea of UI and UX. So as I mentioned before, that's user interface, how it looks, and user experience, how the user engages with the look. So again, this is just how the course looks. So you've got the menu, the navigation buttons, how do you get to the learning check at the end, the little quiz that we have at the end. The buttons are laid out in incredibly specific ways in very purposeful places. So as I mentioned before, this mental model does come into play. So the learner doesn't have to think too much about going to the menu. It should be second nature to just go to the menu on the top right. So what we do with these placements and these colors is we create hierarchies, which most people shouldn't notice, which is kind of the point. Again, content is key. We want them to kind of focus on that. So what we did was we kind of group buttons with colors, or we group them into certain areas of the page. So for example, for this particular course, what we did is we had purple buttons, which would always show you more information. Do you want to learn more about this hazard? Yes, then all you'd need to do is click on this button and you can learn more about, let's say, noise or vibration.
Right.
We'd also have then colors for other buttons. So you get things like activities. Now, some learners would just prefer to just read all the information on the page and continue on. Perhaps they've got things to do. Perhaps they don't like activities very much. So what we do is we have all of these activity buttons in a specific color, in this case, blue. So they can choose to find all the blue buttons and do all of the activities, or ignore all of the blue buttons and they don't need to think about them too much. You see a blue button, you know what, actually I'm going to save some time, I'm going to move on to the next one. We do actually recommend you do the activities as they are quite good and they're very good at embedding learning, but that's it. So we also have some other colors as well. We've got orange buttons. So orange is color usually associated with construction, which is quite a big kind of part of this course. A lot of people in construction will do something like this course, and those are for the navigation buttons. So you'll see that all the way through. You'll see the menu and the navigation will be all that. Yes, I think that's about it for that section.
And that concludes episode 1, our first snippet of our chat with Saffire. And I'd like to personally thank Saffire once again for joining us on the pod. Now, that is the end of episode 1, but we have another 2 episodes with Saffire, and we have a bunch more questions, a bunch more topics to cover regarding the NEBOSH Online General Certificate offering here at Astutis. Now, some of the innovations will be answered in episode 2. These are just some of the topics. We're going to be asking her about the visual innovations, the specific illustrations, and the science behind graphic and illustrative designs. I will be asking her specifically, how does her department emphasize course content? And more specifically, the innovations that incorporate the methodologies from social media and websites. And one of my personal favorites is our topic, our conversation on animations, the beautiful animations her department have been incorporating into the new course. So we have all of that to look forward to in the next episode of the podcast. So without further ado, all I have to say is, if you need to ask us any questions, you can do so on social media. Just type in Astutis and you will find us. Alternatively, you can email me directly. My email address will be in the description below. So until next time, friends, please stay safe, and I'll speak to you soon.